It's week 8. If you have any questions about your lineup this weekend, I'm here for you. Drop it in the comments. I get back to you as quick as I can. Starting off this video with a week 7 recap. Our overall season record on these videos is in the bottom right of your screen. We're not perfect, but we're pretty good. Let's kick it off here with our weekly defense in the LA Chargers. They're at home against the New Orleans Saints, who are having quarterback issues. They've lost 5 straight games, and whether it's Spencer Rattler, who's banged up, or Jake Haener, again, I like the Chargers' chances to get a win this weekend. The Chargers have the #1 scoring defense in the league this year, and they're, again, at home against a struggling team in the New Orleans Saints. And the Chargers offense, they like to control the clock. So even more so, limiting the chances that a guy like Alvin Kamara could have a magical game and take away points from this Chargers defense for our fantasy lineup. So again, there's so many positives, almost too many positives here for the Chargers defense. But I'm going to take them here at home. I'm going to start them against the struggling New Orleans Saints offense. Again, just checks way too many boxes. So let's get into the quarterback position with Dak Prescott. He's coming off a bye. He's well rested. He has CeeDee Lamb also coming off a bye, of course. And this offense has been struggling, I will say, this season. They need to get back on the right track, and they need people to actually want to get back on this bandwagon that Dak Prescott was talking about just a few weeks ago. But he's on the road this week, of course, playing the San Francisco 49ers. And throughout his career, he's played them twice. And he's averaged pretty good numbers. 230 passing yards a game and a touchdown a game. So again, pretty good fantasy numbers. Both of those games in the playoffs, by the way, against the San Francisco 49ers. And it just feels like a must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys going forward. And the Niners just always seem to blow out the Dallas Cowboys the last couple of years. So I'm going to take Dak Prescott out of my starting lineup, and I'm going to sit him on the bench here in any leagues that you do have. But, you know, hey, we drafted Dak to be our starter throughout the season. So who do we replace him with? This might shock you. I'm going to say Tua Tagovailoa. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. And yes, I know he's coming off of his 4th concussion in his playing career here in the NFL. But he's coming back. It's going to be his first game back against a very bad defense and secondary in the Arizona Cardinals. That's the guy in Tua that when he comes back, he doesn't need to be Superman. All he does is he just needs to be serviceable. And I think for our fantasy lineups, he can put up a decent amount of points. This is a guy that just needs to get Tyreek the ball. Just get Jalen Waddle the ball. Those guys are frustrated. They're angry. They're hungry to get back on the right track and, I guess, improve their statistics, right? But he has great weapons around him. He just needs to get those guys the ball in space and let them do the work. And again, our fantasy lineups are going to benefit from putting Tua back in the lineup. We just have to hope he doesn't scramble or take any unnecessary hits. But Tua back in the lineup, subpar defense. We're going to start him this week in his first game back. At the running back position, Tony Pollard. He's a top 20 running back this year, giving us 15 to 16 fantasy points a game, which is great, right? This is a guy that is playing, of course, the Detroit Lions this week. It's the 30th matchup, so it's not a great matchup. It's on the road. Who's this quarterback? Is it Mason Rudolph? Is it Will Levis? I think Levis is probably going to be back at the helm. Regardless, he doesn't have a great quarterback. Again, on the road, tough defense, and this is a blowout likely game. Now, I will say this. I think he's in a position where he can get a lot of garbage time points. He's averaging 4.5 targets a game. I think he gets that easily here against the Detroit Lions. Maybe he gets 4 to 5 receptions, over 100 total scrimmage yards. Regardless, again, the Lions are very good at defending receiving running backs. And again, I think it's just going to be a massacre. I think it's just going to be a straight blowout. We're going to sit Tony Pollard, even though he's been a startable running back every single week this NFL season. This might shock you, but at the receiver position, let's talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's the wide receiver 25 on the year, giving us 11 to 12 fantasy points a game. So you're saying, hey, that's a nice flex wide receiver, nice wide receiver 2 or 3. He has been that all season, but he's had spike weeks, and he's had, again, the weeks where you regret even having him on your team. But this is a potential shootout game against the Bills this weekend. And this is a guy in JSN who's averaging 8 targets a game. It feels like a must-win where they can improve to 5-3 to compete in this division here in the NFC West. The only cons, again, the Buffalo defense is actually very good against the pass. Regardless, though, I just have a gut feeling, just like Tua. Gut feeling, I'm going to start JSN this weekend here, what seems like a must-win for the Seattle Seahawks. And again, I think it could be a potential shootout there against the Bills. This is a deeper league option. So deeper league option guy of the week, but Jawan Jennings, this is a guy that was the wide receiver 6 throughout the first month of the season when one of these top 2 wide receivers in this Niners offense were out with injury. Of course, to start the year, it was Debo. He was banged up to start the year, and Jawan Jennings capitalized. Remember, he had a 46-point performance in week 3. That doesn't come around often. But San Francisco always seems to blow out Dallas. And with Brandon Ayuk out for the year, CMC is going to be out this week. And George Kittle is questionable. Of course, he's going to come into this game banged up. So Brock Purdy needs to get the ball to somebody if San Francisco wants to continue to blow out the Dallas Cowboys. Hey, I'm going to say start Jawan Jennings. Again, if you're in a 12-team league and you need a wide receiver this week, this is a great flex play because I guarantee you whoever had him probably dropped him after Brandon Ayuk started to get going. David Njoku, the Chief. Look, I'm a Browns fan, and I stay away from this team as far as betting, as far as fantasy football, as much as I possibly can throughout the entirety of my life as a Browns fan because they always seem to disappoint. However, in fantasy, I'm going to be a little bit more lenient here, especially because of our new quarterback situation. David Njoku now has Jameis Winston, a guy that once threw 30 touchdowns and 30 picks in the same season. He is going to air the ball out. And I like that for fantasy football and all of his weapons around him. David Njoku, I think, is going to be the biggest beneficiary of Jameis Winston at the quarterback position. He's been the tight end 4 over the last 2 weeks, getting 16 fantasy points a game. He's coming off his best game of the season. Again, he's facing a favorable matchup in the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm going to say start him here against the Baltimore Ravens. But again, you see our 5 starts, our 3 sits on the week. I will talk to you guys next week. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns about your lineup, or you just want a second opinion, drop it in the comments. I'm here for you.